Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. A lot to talk about again this week. Streets of New Capenna previews continue to have an impact on card prices. This week we got to see the 5 Commander decks revealed as well. Pioneer is still a very hot format. Card prices are jumping all over the place there, simply because if you want to play in one of the upcoming regional championships to get to the Pro Tour, you're going to need to play Pioneer. So a lot of players are trying to build decks, and there's other things happening in the market as well. There's so much happening, as a matter of fact, that I did have to increase the threshold again to $3 for this video. So we're not going to talk about a card unless it's moving at least $3 up or down today. Quickly though, before we get into the details, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Streets of New Capenna products there. They have everything you see on the screen as well as the Commander decks, and they have a whole lot of other things on their website too. Remember, if your order's over $100 or it consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the promo code HEROES, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin, as we usually do, with the Standard Legal Spotlight. This is where we look at Standard Legal cards moving the most this week. First, we have one going down in value. It is Chandra Dressed to Kill, but it is the one from Innistrad Double Feature, down 15.18 to 49.57. So this copy of the card has been pretty inflated because there are a limited number of copies for sale online currently. This week, some more copies did join the marketplace, and it did come down a little bit. I do think this price is still inflated. However, other copies of this card are going up in value. You're going to see one in just a few moments. The Wandering Emperor, though, is also going up this week. It's up $4.92 to $40. I do think the main reason this is moving as much as it is right now is Pioneer, but it's still a great card in multiple formats, including Standard. In the past season, you saw this in Mono White Aggro, Selesnya Midrange, and much more. I'm sure you're going to see plenty of this card in the upcoming season as well. In Pioneer, it's an Azorius Control that is a popular and successful deck right now in the format. It's also in 4-color Fires of Invention and Jeskai Control. In Modern, you see this in Azorius Control, Bank Control, and more there. And in Commander, it's in Ishin 2 Heavens is 1, and a number of other builds old and new. And just like that, Chandra is back. Chandra Dressed to Kill, the one from Innistrad Crimson Vow, is up $11.40 to $33. Spoiler alert as well, you're going to see this card again in the Premium Spotlight later in the video. But why is it going up in value? Again, it's really tied into Pioneer. When it comes to Standard first, though, sure, it did see play in the last season in Mono Red as well as Gruul aggro decks. There's a good chance it will play a role in the upcoming season as well, but in Pioneer, it's in Mono Red aggro, another very popular and successful deck right now in that format. Also, it's in Mono Red Burn there. In Modern, it's in Obosh aggro, sometimes Mono Red Prowess as well, and it gets a little Commander play too in Chandra Fire of Kaladesh builds and more. That quickly takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. I do have some cards going down in value in this section and then some going up. First is Shivan Dragon from Revised. It is down $4.76 this week to $18.99. This is retracting after some recent increases. It does see a little Commander play. Grim Tutor from Starter $19.99. This is down $5.60 this week to $88.62. This was recently reprinted again in the Mischief Secret Lair. It does get a good amount of Commander play in various builds, including a newer one, Satoru Umezawa. Rin and Ciri Inseparable. A couple copies here. The first is the non-foil one that you might find in collector boosters. It's down $5.63 to $33.48. The foil buy a box promo is down $6.52 to $31.98. Okay, so this is retracting after Streets of New Capenna previews pushed this recently. You might remember if you've been watching the Market Watch, the card's been pretty hot. But this isn't too unusual. Sometimes when a card spikes, there's a lot of extra copies that are sitting in people's collections. Or stores have them in inventory, but they haven't actively been listing them because the card wasn't selling that well to begin with. But of course, a price spike can change all that. Stores will start listing more copies. Players will decide it might be a good time to trade or sell their copies that they're not using. And all of a sudden, these extra copies come into the marketplace and prices start to stabilize a little bit. That's what's happening this week, and it's not the only card stabilizing down this week. You're going to see more of that in the video later. When it comes to gameplay, though, currently this is a very popular commander, and I'm sure it's going to get even more play in the future due to the cat and dog support from Streets of New Capenna. It is already showing up in a lot of commander deck lists around a new card from there, and that's Jinny Fey Jetmir II. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. This is the one from the list, the first card moving up in this section this week. It is up $5.89 to $34.98. And this was added to the list with Innistrad Midnight Hunt. It stayed through Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, but it has been removed now with new Capenna. Again, no surprise, Pioneer is pushing this. This is in Azorius as well as Jeskai Control there. In Modern, this sees a good amount of play too. It's in Azorius, Jeskai, Bant, and Esper Control. Sometimes 4-color mid-range as well. This does get a lot of Commander play too. It's in Atraxa Praetor's Voice and more decks there. You do see this sometimes in Commander Sisay Weatherlight Captain Shrine builds, and those have been more popular due to the new shrines in Neon Dynasty. Ultimately, though, the real key driver here continues to be Pioneer. Same story here, Kalidas Trader of Getep 709 to 2993. In Pioneer, this is in Rakdos Midrange, another popular deck in that format. Also, it's in Mono Black Aggro and more there. Additionally, it is now in a Pioneer version of the Rock build, which is doing pretty well. That's one to keep an eye on. Plus, it does get Commander play in some builds like Alper Markov, for example, and Streets of New Capenna did bring a little more Vampire support as well. Third verse, same as the first, another card moving because of its role in the Pioneer format. This is Collective Defiance. It is up 766 this week to 867. And this is showing up alongside Narset, Parter of Vals, and Izzet Control builds. Additionally, it does get some Commander play too. Recently, it has seen some additional play there in Hinata Dawn Crown decks. But again, of course, Pioneer is why this is jumping the way it is. This one is a little different. Resplendent Angel, and this is moving because of Commander. It's up 862 this week to 3149. Streets of New Capenna did bring a little Angel support. The card that may be the most interesting, though, is the legendary Angel Giada Font of Hope. Resplendent Angel is showing up in many early Commander deck lists around Giada. Eidolon of the Great Revel. Journey into Nyx is up 450 this week to 2311. The Masters 25 copy is up 885 to 2810. This was recently reprinted in the special guest Yoko Shimizu Secret Lair. But still, as you can see, there's a lot of demand on this card, and it is jumping up in value regardless, again because of Pioneer. It is in Mono Red Aggro, Mono Red Burn, and Boros Burn there. This also shows up in Modern and Legacy Burn as well. And it is worth noting that Modern Burn deck has been pretty popular recently too in this post-Lurrus of the Dream Den meta. Additionally, this gets a little Commander play in some aggressive builds like Torbrand Thane of Red Fell, for example. And that takes us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. Again, we have some cards going down in value, some going up in value. First one on the way down, Urza Lord High Artificer from Modern Horizons. It is down 332 to 7155. This is retracting after some recent increases that occurred after the Modern meta change due to the banning of Lurrus. Urza may not be seeing the amount of play that some anticipated after that banning, but it's still in Thopter combo. Many times it's in Affinity as well. In Vintage, you'll see this in 8-cast. It is also a popular commander and in the 99 of a number of builds, including some newer ones like Tamishi Reality Architect. Some have also picked this up as an upgrade to the Buckle Up commander deck, which has been very popular, and others have put it in fresh builds around a card from there, Shorikai Genesis Engine. Liliana of the Veil from Ultimate Masters is down 332 to 79.99. Now, this is another card that got very hot after Lurrus was banned in Modern, but this one is performing very well. Just happens to be that this particular copy is just retracting a little bit this week. In Modern, you'll see this in Jund, Rakdos Midrange, and more. It also does get some Commander play in Tergrid God of Fright / Tergrid's Lantern, for example. Exquisite Blood. This is the one from the list. It goes down 333 this week to 34.98. This was added to the list with Crimson Vow. It is sticking around into New Capenna. It is important to note, too, with New Capenna, the list is getting a lot smaller. So those cards that are sticking around may be pushed a lot harder into the marketplace compared to past incarnations of the list. On top of that, this was also recently reprinted in the Welcome to Castle Dracula Secret Lair. Great commander card and combo enabler. Many times this is found in Alper Markov. It also has seen some increased commander play recently, too, in Tatsunari Toad Rider builds. Hellcarver Demon. It was spiking pretty aggressively last week. This week we see some retraction, again not too unusual. It is down 374 to 1210. Traditionally, this card just saw a tad bit of commander play, but the reason that it did get hot was due to a new card from the Riveter's Rampage commander deck. We talked a lot about it last week, the Beamtown Bullies. I am seeing Hellcarver Demon in many early commander deck lists around the Bullies. Last card going down in value is Unwinding Clock from Commander 2018. It is down 408 this week to $30.19. Now, this was part of the list as well for Crimson Vow and Neon Dynasty. It is coming off, however, for New Capenna. You might remember this card got very hot recently due to increased commander play. Now, yeah, it is retracting a little bit. It is a great upgrade to Buckle Up, and it also is a good pickup for fresh builds around a couple cards from there, Shorikai and Kotori Pilot Prodigy. First card going up in this section is Gemstone Caverns. Time Spiral is up $3.27 to $49.32. The copy from the list is up $3.85 to $40.95. It was on the list from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms through Neon Dynasty, but it is coming off for New Capenna. Solid modern card, and it is in some builds that are seeing more play now that Lurrus of the Dream Den has been banned in the format. It's in Crashing Footfalls, Dredge, Glimpse Combo, and more. This is also getting a good amount of commander play, and is sometimes in Yuriko the Tiger Shadow builds. Those became popular again recently due to the ninja support in Neon Dynasty. Kozilek Butcher of Truth, the one from the list, this was there for Strixhaven as well as Modern Horizons 2. It's up $4.42 this week to $74.99. In Modern, you'll see this in Colorless Tron, sometimes Eldrazi Tron. Legacy, it's in Mono Green Cloud Post. This did see some increased commander play too recently in Satoru builds, and it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week as well, which could have brought some attention to it. Magus of the Moon, the copy from the list is going to the moon. It's up $5.45 this week to $13.99. This was on the list from Innistrad Midnight Hunt through Neon Dynasty. Again, coming off for New Capenna. This is in a number of modern sideboards. Yawgmoth, sometimes Murktide Regent, and more. In Legacy, you do see this in sideboards, and sometimes main decks too. It's in Sneak and Show, Blood Moon Aggro, Goblins, sometimes Painter there. In Vintage, you'll see this in Goblins as well. It does look like this will be getting more commander play in the future as well. I have seen this in early deck lists around a New Capenna card, Rocco Cabaretti Caterer. Time Civ, you saw a lot of copies of this spiking last week. The Alara Reborn copy still moving up. It's up $5.93 to $16.40 this week. Solid commander card in a number of builds, including Brea Ethereum Shaper, which is getting reprinted in the showcase Streets of New Capenna Gilded Foil Secret Lair. The reason this card has been hot, though, is because it is getting some support from cards from Streets of New Capenna. Last week we talked about how cards like Horde Haulers, or especially Bootlegger's Stash, would play well with this. I do think the combo of this and Bootlegger's Stash is something you might see a lot in Commander in the future. I have already seen players getting this to upgrade the Obscura Operation Commander deck, or in some cases I've seen this in deck lists around fresh builds from a card from there, Tivit Seller of Secrets. And the last card in this section is Sword of Fire and Ice from Modern Masters, up $10.98 this week to $80. Now granted, this particular copy is a little dry online this week, which is why it is moving the way it is, but this card is truly seeing increased play in this post-Lurrus Modern. It seems like its popularity is even growing. It's in Death in Texas, 4-color midrange, many times Hammer Time, and much more. It has been seeing more commander play too recently. It's a good upgrade to the Upgrades Unleashed commander deck, and some do put this in fresh builds around a card from there as well, Shishiro the Shattered Blade. And that takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, 93, 94, or cards that are just popular among collectors. Remember, the prices you see on the screen in this section are going to, at least in some cases, be a little more reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website, just due to the fact that many of these cards don't get a lot of sales over the course of a given week. So we do have to lean a little bit harder on asking prices when we get our data. As always, though, if the price you see on the screen is not lining up with what I'm seeing for true sales, I'll let you know. The other thing to remember, too, is some of the cards on here, the more iconic older ones, the prices you see are going to be somewhere in between a high-grade raw and a high-grade graded card price. So just keep that in mind. So let's see what's happening. First, we have Golos Tireless Pilgrim. It is up $3.46 this week to $8.99. Now, this one is banned in Commander, so we can't blame that format this time. In Pioneer, it is in Mono Red Fires of Invention. Legacy, you see this in Colorless Cloud Post. Vintage, it's in Prison Shops. The reason it's jumping right now, though, ties into a Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate leak. Now, when it comes to leaks, I don't want to throw the card image up there. I know a lot of people prefer to wait till the card is truly revealed. They don't want those spoilers ahead of time, so I do want to respect that. What I will do in just a moment is vaguely discuss why the card is moving this. So that way, if you want to look it up, you can. But again, I do want to respect the people that don't want that information. So if you don't, go ahead and move on to the next card. Now, there have been a number of leaks from Commander Legends already, and we now know that there's going to be new gates in the set. And I'll just leave it at that. You can look it up if you want to learn more, but obviously that is why this card is moving up in value. There is also a new gate commander. It's a legendary Sultai creature called Nine Fingers Keen. And you guessed it, we're going to see Maze's Ends later in the video too. Null Rod is up $3.96 this week to $92.95. Good legacy sideboard card in Azoria Stoneblade, Merfolk, Slivers. In Vintage, you see this in sideboards and occasionally main decks there too. It's in Izzet Tempo, Prison Shops, and more there. It also can appear in various commander builds, including Yuriko at times. Sylvan Library. The Eternal Masters copy is up $3.76 to $60.51. The 4th edition copy is up $4.03 to $59.84. This is in Legacy Naya Depths, also for color control and more there. This is in a lot of commander decks, including Sithis Harvest Hand, and those have been more popular recently due to the enchantment focus in Neon Dynasty. And it's in another new build from Neon Dynasty too. Sometimes you see this in Tatsunari. Intuition from Tempest at $525 to $207. In Legacy, this is in Sneak and Show as well as High Tide, and it also gets some commander play too in different builds. Unmask from Mercadian Masks. It's up $627 this week to $35.81. This was recently reprinted in the Introducing Kaido Shizuki Secret Lair. However, this original copy is still jumping up, as you can see. It is in Legacy Reanimator. Also gets a tad bit of commander play too. We have a different forest from Battle Royale getting hot now. It is the one you see on the screen particularly. It is up $816 this week to $19.98. So this happens once in a while. Someone decides they want to pick up a particular basic land to put into a deck or maybe put into a few decks. And that one dries up very quickly in the marketplace because they bought a bunch of copies. The reasonable price copies are now gone. All that's left are the more expensive ones. And it does cause inflation like this. Typically, it's temporary. As more copies do show up in the marketplace, it will go back down. However, sometimes it does take some time, and I can see the appeal of this particular forest. It is a hard-to-find card on its own, plus it is a reprint of a hard-to-find forest from Portal 3 Kingdoms. Typically, when you see these spikes, they usually are white border cards, because many players do prefer white border basic lands. They do stand out when you fetch. Scrubland from Revised is up $10.01 this week to $3.72. The first of quite a few dual lands that are moving again this week. People have tax refund money coming in or at least on the way, and dual lands are definitely a priority, especially among commander players. Mox Opal, this is the one from Double Masters. It is up $10.03 this week to $86.53. Sees a lot of legacy play. It's an 8-cast painter and more. Vintage, you'll see this in Paradoxical Outcome. Aggro Shops, 8 casts there too. And it's getting more commander play now as well. It is an expensive but good upgrade to buckle up. Also, it's in fresh builds around Shorikai. Lion's Eye Diamond, this is up $10.69 this week to $570. In Legacy, this is in Ad Nauseam Tendrils, Doomsday, Painter, and more. Also, it's in a number of commander builds, including Kest Dissonant Mage. Here we go. Bayou from Revised up $10.77 to $549.98. Tropical Island from Revised up $12.06 to $685.28. Tundra from Revised up $12.44 to $610. Merchant Ship, this is up $13.44 to $109.24. Livonia Salone, this is up $13.69 to $101.94. Chromium, the copy from Legends, up $13.88 to $98.57. Underground Sea from Revised up $22.26 to $949.69. Rock Hydra from Unlimited up $22.35 to $125. Sunglasses of Urza from Unlimited up $27.48 to $112.47. Sorceress Queen, the one from Arabian Nights, up $32.97 to $192.42. Gaia's Cradle from Urza Saga of $42.50 to $1,075. This is in Legacy Elves, Maverick as well. In Vintage, you'll see this in Squee Hollowvine. Great commander card too for a number of decks if you're lucky enough to own one, including Lathro Blade of the Elves, for example. Hammerheim, this one particularly looks like a targeted buyout this week. It's up $51.36 to $121.99. Vesuvian Doppelganger from Unlimited of $54.91 to $545.10. Badlands from Unlimited of $70.94 to $799.89. Now, I have seen high-grade raw copies go for about this price. I have not seen any high-grade graded copies sell for a while. Obviously, they would sell for more. Guardian Beast of $98.77 to $1,128.80. Savannah Lions from Unlimited up $104.45 to $279.50. Is that for real? I have seen high-grade raw copies go for about this price, believe it or not. High-grade graded copies, again, can go for more. Mox Diamond from Stronghold up $136.77 this week to $835.99. First off, is that for real? Well, the price does fall in between the price of a high-grade raw and a high-grade graded copy. So I do think this jump is more due to the fact that a high-grade graded copy did sell this week. Things might stabilize down again, at least somewhat, over the next couple weeks. But anyway, when it comes to gameplay, this is in Legacy Lands, Naya Depths, 4-color Loam. It gets a good amount of commander play too. This can show up again in Yuriko. Island of Wak Wak up $395.01 this week to $3,095. Is that for real? Seems like whenever we talk about this card, the answer is no. There's a lot of copies out there with high asking prices that just are never sold. So in reality, high-grade raws seem to go for about $785, but I did see a high-grade graded copy sell recently for only $800, so perhaps this card is maybe in reality cooling off, or someone got a really good deal on that graded one. Next we have Moated is up 722.67 to 2,399.69. Well, how about this one? A high-grade raw sale recently sold for about $15.30. I have not seen any high-grade graded copies sell for a while, but I don't think this price is out of the question for when one does sell. Mox Emerald from Unlimited is up $999.63 to $8,500 in theory. I say this all the time, when it comes to Power 9, very few sell any given week, so the price jumps and dips that you see are typically based around the asking price for the cards that are on sale at that moment. And of course, that changes week to week based on the card grades that are on sale or how many are graded versus ungraded. It is difficult to pinpoint a true value for a high-grade Power 9 card. Basically, it's whatever somebody's willing to pay at that moment. Same thing with this one. Black Lotus from Unlimited in theory this week goes up $4,650 to $27,000. And that brings us to the Commander Spotlight, and Commander is one of the key drivers for all the cards you're going to see today, but it might not be the key driver. In some cases, I'll let you know if other formats are pushing it more. So let's see what's happening. Spellseeker from Battle Bond is up $312 this week to $43.86. This recently did see some increased Commander play in Hinata builds. Mana Crypt, the one from Eternal Masters, up $317 this week to $190.48. Huge Commander card in a number of decks, including some new ones like Hinata again. This is another good but expensive upgrade to Buckle Up, and I have seen this in fresh builds around Shorikai too. Additionally, this is a good upgrade to the delayed Heads I Win, Tails You Lose Secret Lair Commander deck. In Vintage, it shows up in Esper Tinker, Paradoxical Outcome, and more. Tithe, this is up $334 this week to $35.98. This does get a little Commander play, and I have seen this in at least one early deck list around Giada Font of Hope. Mana Bonds, this one is an older card yet to be reprinted, up $339 to $28.21. And this is in a new variation of Legacy Lands, which has been popular in MTGO called 8 Mulch. Typically, those decks run 4 copies of this. It does see a tad bit of Commander play too, and I'm about to reference the Commander Legends leak, so if you want to miss that, just go ahead and skip to the next card. If you're still here, obviously I don't have a lot to add to what I said before. This is moving up, at least in part, because of what we discussed with Golos. Steam Vents from Guild Pact up $358 this week to $35.99. Shocklands are getting another reprint in Unfinity. When it comes to gameplay, hey, this is a Shockland. You know it's going to see a lot of play in a number of different formats. In Pioneer, this is in Is It Control, Is It Phoenix, and more. Modern, it's in Murktide Regent, Crashing Footfalls, 4-color Blink, and much more. This even shows up in Legacy, Is It Delver? And sure, it gets a ton of Commander play too in a lot of different decks. I have seen this in new builds like Hinata. Phyrexia Negator. This is the copy from Dual Decks Phyrexia versus the Coalition. This particular copy only comes in foil. It is up $359 this week to $13. So this is another card players are picking up for the Commander builds around the Beamtown Bullies. There was also a Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate leak that could be pushing this too. Go ahead and move on to the next card if you don't want to hear any more. The card is called John Irenicus Shattered One. It is a Dimir legendary elf creature that also gives away your creatures. Rite of Flame, the copy from the list. This was only there for Cal time. It's up $361 this week to $15. And this gets some Commander play in a variety of builds. In Legacy, you see this in the Epic Storm as well as the Epic Gamble. Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, the copy from Planar Chaos, is up $361 this week to $47.94. This was on the list from Modern Horizons 2 through Crimson Vow. It is a big Commander card and it has seen more play recently in Satoru decks. But Pioneer and Modern are the formats that are pushing this the most right now. Pioneer, it's in Rakdos Midrange, Rakdos Sacrifice, and more. Modern, this is in the Mono Black Coffers deck, which has been putting up some good results recently. Also in Yawgmoth and more there. In Legacy, it's in Golgari Depths. Winds of Change up $377 to $44.94, but this is the Portal copy. It is hard to find in high grade online, so the price is always at least a little inflated. It is another card that can show up at times in Commanders to say whether like Captain Shrine builds, among other decks in the format. The Great Henge up $377 to $58.48, and this has seen some additional Commander play recently in Rayhan Last of the Abzan / Yoshimaru Ever Faithful partner decks. In Pioneer, you'll see this in Mono Green Stompy. The Ozolith, this is up $390 this week to $24.22. This also has seen more Commander play in Rayhan and Yoshimaru builds. Plus, it is a good upgrade to Upgrades Unleashed, and also a good thing to put in fresh builds around Shishiro. However, I do think one of the key drivers here is a new card. Denry Klin, Editor-in-Chief, is from the Bedecked Brokers Commander deck, and I do think some people might be picking this up to build around that card. On top of that, this does see modern play in Hardened Scales. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, this is the copy from the list that was there for Zendikar Rising and Kaldheim. It goes up 469 this week to 3474. So this is in a lot of commander builds, including Sithis. It's seen more play recently too in Light Pause Emperor's voice decks. Now commander players want this though to put in their Giada Font of Hope builds. In Pioneer, this is in mono green Stompy. Wheel of Fortune from Revised up 473 to 399.97. Solid commander card in a number of builds, including Kess Dissident Mage. Thoughtseize, the one from Time Spiral Remastered, is up 476 this week to 29.78. This is another card that can show up in commander builds like the new Satoru deck, but really it's Pioneer that's pushing this more than anything this week. It's in Rakdos Midrange, Rakdos Sacrifice, and much more. It's also in that Pioneer version of the Rock I mentioned earlier. Plus it gets lots of Modern, Legacy, and Vintage play too. In Modern, it's in Grixis Death Shadow, Yawgmoth, and much more. In Legacy, it's in Elves, Ad Nauseam Tendrils, and many other builds there too. Emrakul, The Promised End, it is up 477 this week to 54.99. This is in a variety of commander builds, including Kozilek the Great Distortion. It is a modern sideboard card too, sometimes an Amulet Titan, 4-color Blink, and more. Maze's End up 575 to 1097. Now there is a Maze's End Pioneer deck that pops up occasionally. This also has seen some increased commander play in Go Shintai of Life's Origin decks. However, this is really moving again because of a Commander Legends leak. Go ahead and move on to the next card if you don't want to hear any more. And I already gave this one away, of course, when we were talking about Golos, moving because of the same Commander Legends leaks I mentioned there. Last card in the section is Radiant Archangel, up 1840 to 39.99. This reserve list angel tends to spike whenever there's renewed interest in angels in general. I do think it's mostly speculators that move in on it, but I have seen this in at least one early Commander deck list around Giada Font of Hope. And that takes us to the Premium Spotlight. As you know, I could do a whole video series on premium cards probably every day of the week. They're always spiking, always going back down, and I don't want to spend time on those type of cards. Cards that are being targeted for a buyout. Cards that are drying up just temporarily in the market, and I know more copies are going to show up soon. But I do like to talk about premium cards that feel like they're having some true natural growth, and today I picked 3 to discuss. Just like in the vintage section though, these cards don't sell a lot, so we do have to lean a little harder on asking price. But again, if the price on the screen is not lining up with what I'm seeing from true sales, I'll let you know. We'll begin with Collective Defiance. The Aldrich Moon foil is up $13.98 this week to $16. The pre-release foil is up $21.25 to $23.45. Okay, not many of these have sold since the non-foil copy spiked very recently. I haven't seen any of the pre-release copies sell at all, and I've only seen a few Aldrich Moon copies. They have sold for about $7 now, but sellers are staying ahead of the price spike, as you can see from the prices on the screen. Considering how quickly that non-foil copy spiked, I do think these prices are not out of the question. Next we have Chandra Dressed to Kill again. So first off, I did not include the double feature foil here, although I do think it is going up in value. It's just really hard to find right now. But I did see a couple sales, one for $100 and one for $140. So we'll have to see what happens with that in the future. But here's all the other premium copies all moving up. The regular Innistrad Crimson Vow foil is up $14.29 to $39.99. The borderless copy is up $20.10 to $50.05. The borderless foil is up $23.71 to $59.99. The pre-release foil is up $26.31 to $50. And I will tell you, all the prices you see on the screen are a little higher than what I've seen when it comes to true sales. But again, that non-foil Crimson Vow copy is moving pretty quickly, so I don't think in the short term these prices are out of the question. Again, sellers are just staying ahead of the spike. And finally, we have a card that we talked about last week. It is the Wheel of Fortune Judge foil, up another $100 to $2,000 in theory. So, like I said last week, these are real hard to find, and I don't see any sales in recent history. I did see a raw copy sell for a little over $1,000 in January, and since that happened, asking prices have been going up. Ultimately, though, if nobody's buying, then these prices are probably too high. Although, when it comes to a card like this, many times sellers will put it out there with a high price and then accept a reasonable offer. When it comes to high-grade graded copies, I couldn't find any sales for a very long time. Obviously, those would sell for more. Could they get to $2,000? Perhaps if the grade is high enough. Alright, with that being said, that does it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. If you made it to the end and stuck with me, I always appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Until next time, though, hey, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.